So we're not finished. That's 2 wings. I've just created the second one. Hey guys, it's Rick. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, this is Rick Chat RC. Welcome also. Now, you might remember 11-12 months ago, I built a wing. In fact, I built this wing. I called it my Flitetest Experimental Airlines wing. So today, in this video, I'm going to show you how to build this thing. We're going to go over the text, the specs, the dimensions, and I'll even show you the plane it goes on. So stick around, don't go anywhere, it's coming right up next. Okay, so this is a 1.2 meter wingspan. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. I found 1.2 is probably just the right amount without having to take 2 wing halves apart and put them back together again. It fits neatly in the car. It's not too big, it's not too small. What else can I tell you? I've got this cut out here so I could enable it to fit in my existing planes. You don't have to have that cut out here, you can have that going right across there. But I'm going to show you a drawing afterwards that I worked from, which allowed me to work out the dimensions for exactly what I was after. So you may have seen this in the last video also, or the last few videos also. This is the plane that I built this wing for. Now you can have any design, but this is what I built, and I'll show you how I put this together also. So basically what I did is I made that cutout so that it would sit comfortably on top there like so, so that it would fit in between the 2 wing hold down pieces where the dowel is, so I could hold the wing down with elastic bands. Okay, so before we start, I'll give you a quick summary of the wing. This is what the finished product is looking like, or is going to look like. I've used packing tape, as you can see. I'll go through the motions of how I did that. That's the overall shape. I've got an angled cut on the top and bottom section of the leading and trailing edges, and I'll explain the middle section where it sits on the fuselage. And yeah, I'll give you the dimensions in a moment, and then I'll go over how to draw this up on paper before you actually put lines and score cuts on the foam, so everything folds into place exactly as you're expecting. Now it's a close-up view of the wing, so you can see the overlap of the packing tape, how I've laid it down. This wing has no paper on the foam too, by the way. Only paper that exists is on the spar inside the wing, which I'll show you a bit later on. So that's a close-up of the packing tape. You can see the ailerons there, the aileron cutouts, the center section here, which sits on the fuselage in between the wing tie-down rods, and yeah, the left-hand side of the wing also. The wingspan is 1.2 meters. There you go, 1200 mil. The trailing edge chord length, where the wing sits on the fuselage between the wing tie-down rods, is about 170. Now that's an approximate. I'll give you the exact measurements when I draw this up on paper and show you how to do that. The chord length up to the start of the ailerons is about 200, and the ailerons themselves are about 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches. So I'll show you how that all comes about too once we put all this together and do the score cuts and the folding and so on. This is the underside of the wing. So it's got a flat surface. You can see the tapered cuts on the trailing edge and leading edge the servo insertions, they're my pushrod designs, the aileron cutouts, the center hole cutouts for the aileron wires to come through, aileron servo wires to come through. Yeah, the ossipole sticks in the middle to cope with the pressure of the elastic bands when you pull them over the top and around the wing tie-down rods on the fuselage. Another quick look at the dimensions from the underside of the wing. So the chord length up to the trailing edge section of where the wing sits on the fuselage between the wing tie-down rods. Once again, it's about 170. Yeah, I'll draw that on paper, like I said earlier, and you'll see exactly how to fold, how to cut, and how this falls into place before you put anything on the foam. This is another view of the chord length from the underside of the body once again, where the end of the trailing edge finishes. So you can see there it's about 200. There's another centimetre or so of wing chord which leads up to the aileron, and then there's the aileron section which is about 3.5 to 4 centimetres, which equates to about 1.5 inches. Okay, so before we start drawing and scoring and cutting the foam, we put this design on paper, and this is the one I've done. This is how I did mine. So I drew something up on paper. I was playing around with this for a while until I got it the way I wanted it, and then these dimensions were transcribed onto the foam board. So to start with, these two circles here, they represent the wing tie-down rods on the fuselage. So I made sure that this would fit on my existing planes. So if you can imagine that an elastic band goes around here and then comes around here and hooks onto there, that's what's holding down the wing for me on the fuselage. Now I'll show you what I mean exactly using the actual wing. That's the wing. I'll just come back a bit so we can see it properly. Okay, so from here, the leading edge to this section here is that section here. So that length there is basically that length there. And from here to here is this section. From the leading edge right across to this section here. I'll zoom back into the wing. Okay, so basically what I did is I highlighted the inner lines of the wing. The inner lines represent the inside of the wing. So this point here is a score cut, this point here is a score cut, this point and this point are score cuts, and they will fold and bend to achieve this. Now normally with the flight test wings, as I've seen them done in the past, they tend to have an angle that comes straight down from the top of the wing spar. Now I didn't want to do that because I've got a pretty thick airfoil, and I didn't want that triangular look. Now you can do it if you wish. I chose not to. Instead I chose to put in another score cut here to give it that nice little curvature look, and I think you'll agree it looks pretty good. I've shown you on the finished product how it looks, and I think it turned out pretty well considering. So if I get down to the dimensions now, So we start from, well, just as one more overall perspective, from the leading edge right up to the end of the aileron tip, it's 25.5 centimeters. You don't need to know that completely, or right now, it's not that important, but this is how you will end up achieving that. We start from the inner line up to where the two pieces of foam board will meet when you fold them over. 19.5 centimeters to here. So from here to here, 19.5 centimeters. Then we go up the line here. So this one here is 3.7. This one here is 3.7. This one here on the top is 3.3. And the final one from there to the end of the aileron is 15 centimeters. I'll put the dimensions on screen, so don't worry about not being able to see the ruler too much, depending on my lighting conditions. So in essence, after you've done all that, you add up the 19.5 and the 3.7 and the 3.7 and the 3.3 and the 15, and you end up with a total length of foam board that you'll need before you start transcribing this onto your foam. And that's how much foam you know you'll need. What else? Oh yeah, before I show you the example on paper, the thickness of my airfoil is 2.5 centimeters. So that's about an inch. As I said, you don't have to make it this thick, but if you want to know how I built this wing, this is what I did, this is what I played with, this is what I experimented with, and you've seen the outcome. So, I'll just give you a brief illustration of what this looks like on the foam board. So, let's assume this was the bottom of the foam board here. We would measure up to here, 19.5 centimeters. And then I would draw a line, and that would be my first score cut. And that is the leading edge of the wing. The next one would be 3.7 centimeters. I draw a line, that's another score cut. The next one would be 3.7 centimeters. I draw a line, that's another score cut. Now this section here is the top flat section of the airfoil where it sits on top of the wing spar. That's 3.3. I draw a line, I make a score cut, and that is the leftover section which follows onto the back of the wing, which is the aileron section here. So in effect you would start like this, and you would fold that over like so, and you would have an overlap like that. Now I know it's hard to tell, it's hard to see using the paper example, but just if I can just briefly show you what this may look like and what you end up getting. I'll just come back a bit. Okay, so assuming we have folded everything and score cutted everything correctly, that is what the wing will look like. It's not a very good example. I mean, the paper's flimsy. You'll have the curvature there that I was talking about, the flat section there at the top, and then the bottom section there. It's not, I mean, you can't really tell from the paper, but I hope you get the general idea. In essence, once this is on the foam board, that is what we will get in the end. This is how it will look. This is the end result. So without further ado, I'm going to grab the two pieces of foam board. I'm going to show you how we attach them together, how we use packaging tape to provide the color, and then we're going to put those measurements down and we're going to make this wing. Next we move on to the foam board. So this is the foam board I'm using. In Australia this is what I have access to. It's a bit heavier than the stuff that's going around overseas. It's not Dollar Tree foam board. So what I do is remove the paper from both sides and I can halve the weight. Now if I was using Depron, it wouldn't have any paper on it anyway, so it's more or less the same thing. You can use Dollar Tree if you have access to Dollar Tree foam board. You can use any type of foam board you have. This is 5mm foam board, and you don't need to remove the paper if your foam board is light enough as is. So my wingspan is 1.2 meters that way, if you remember. So I'm using one sheet of foam board, and I simply measured 60 centimeters across. So from here to here, like that, is 60 centimeters. I make the cut, I remove my first piece of foam board. According to this diagram, the distance between here, right around the airfoil to the back of the aileron is 45 centimeters. So I then grab the tape measure, and I measure from the top to the bottom 45 centimeters. So from here to here, 45 centimeters, draw a line, cut out the next piece, remove it like so. So this is my first piece of foam board for the first half of the wing, cut out, ready to go. You repeat that with another piece. So you get two halves, my first one, my second one. They're identical in size and dimension. What we're going to do is join them together with a bit of hot glue and tape, sticky tape. Then we're going to use packing tape for colour, and then we're going to put those score cuts, those dimensions on the foam board, use those score cuts and those fold techniques. I'm going to turn this into a wing. Next thing we do is join the two wing halves together, and I'm going to use sticky tape to keep them that way. This will add strength in the middle and help it from folding under pressure when it's flying. Now that's just to keep the two wing halves together. What we're going to do is trim the ends and then hot glue the middle. So we do that. Okay, we turn it over. I'm going to trim the excess off from both sides. And the idea now is that we're going to fold the wing like so, and we're going to put a bead of glue right through here. Hot glue is going to go right there, and the sticky tape on the other side is going to stop it from dripping through. Then we're going to close the wing like that, and she'll be solid. So we're going to put a bead of glue right here. Okay, that's done. We drop the wing. Okay, so I've put the hot glue in the middle. I've wiped off the excess like that. I've folded the wing flat. Again, the tape is on the underside underneath, and when this dries it will be solid. So what we do after that is we turn that over. That's the sticky tape side here, and this is the side we're going to start placing the coloured packing tape all along here from top to bottom. So it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. See, one hand, I'm holding it on the other side only. It's not folding, it is glued and dried and pretty firm. and the tape on the other side gives it that extra strength too. So that's the wing, ready for the packing tape. Okay, so we've glued the two foam board halves together with hot glue. We've got a strip of sticky tape for strength. We're now ready to add the packing tape for colour and packing tape for extra strength as well. So we're going to start with the blue, which is our aileron strip, and then we're going to add an overlap of yellow. Each layer will be an overlap over the last till we get to the end, and that way, with the airflow going that way, each overlap is going against, or with the wind rather. Just to give you a quick idea, using the original wing, the aileron strip at the bottom, this has already been folded over. So if you can imagine, this part gets folded under, and that's what our wing's going to end up turning out like once we're finished. So let's start with the very first strip. And there we have our wing. That's the original. Here we go. Aileron down the bottom. All we have to do now is do the score cuts, the bend and fold techniques, transcribe the dimensions onto the back here, and we can start doing the folds and turn that piece of foam board into a wing like this. So this is our finished foam board wing sheet, covered with packing tape, ready to go. All we have to do now is transcribe the template measurements on the other side of the foam, do the score cuts, do the bend and fold, and we've got ourselves a wing. So from this position onwards, we simply turn the board over like so. Now, according to this, we take our first measurement on the flat bottom section from here to here, 19.5. So from the bottom up, 19.5. The next one from here to here, 3.7. So from here to here, 3.7. The next one from here to here, 3.7. So from here to here, 3.7. The top section of the airfoil, 3.2, 3.3. So from here to here, 3.2 or 3.3. And the remaining measurement, the remaining length on the inside line, from here to here, 15 centimeters. So we draw from here to here is 15 centimeters. So after you've marked all of those, I grab a straight edge or a long ruler, and all I did was draw each of the lines from one end of the wing to the other. So from one end of the foam board sheet to the other, based on those markings and those measurements, I draw the score lines. Now all we have to do is score each of these lines, which we're going to do next, and then we're going to fold that over, and the ailerons will be at the back, part of the trailing edge, like we planned. So now we're going to do the score lines. So now we're up to the score section, where I'm going to cut and score each of these lines so that the foam will bend easily. We don't want any tension, we don't want too much tension. We want it to fold relatively easily where each of these score lines have been marked. So I'm going to use something that's a little bit abrasive, that'll go through the foam nice and easily and give me a reasonably wide cut or score, so that there's room for the bend and fold in between each of the joins. So here we go. Okay, that's the first half. I'll leave that up. I'll finish the remaining half. With the scoring. Begin the fold. It's working rather nicely. I'm really happy with that. So I'm trying to fatigue the foam so that it has a natural bend without being under pressure. So if I grab this and bend it over straight, that will be the aileron section coming down that way. I compare this to the wing. That's the right on the mark. Beautiful. So you just repeat that score process for each of the lines that we drew, and you perform the bend and fold technique for each of the lines, like so, and you end up with a wing like this. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this section here from the tip of the wing to here. We're going to cut out this area for both sides, and from here to here is 18 centimeters. Let's have a quick measure. 18 centimeters. So what I've done is drawn a line from here to the end, 18 centimeters. I've drawn the line and I've cut it. And we're going to do that to both sides, and that's how we end up with this piece here. So we're not going to cut this taper yet because there's a bend in the wing. We're going to cut that straight across after we've made the fold. So for now we're just cutting off this 18 centimeters to here, taking that off, and that goes away like that. So that now is this part. That's that part. And we repeat for the other side. So as you can see, I've done the cut here and I've done the cut here. So this is ready to fold over like so. We'll do the other tapered cuts after. For now, that's the underside, the flat bottom section of the airfoil. So if we were looking at the original wing, that's looking like that with this part down here. And as you can see, when you fold that over, you end up with that, which is this part here. Okay, so now we're going to put together and cut out the strips for the internal spar. So on the original wing, this is what we're making now. This section here. It's one piece right across, and we're going to glue it in like so, and I'll show you how we do that. So these are the strips here. I've already cut them out, and as per this design, from here to here is 3 centimeters across, or 3.1. You know, 0.1 or 0.2 isn't going to make any real major difference. So 3 to 3.1 centimeters across from there to there, and it's 2.5 centimeters high from there to there. So my base plate, or my base foam strip, which is this one, is 5 millimeters thick. So to get my 2.5 centimeters high, my vertical strips, I only have to cut as 2 centimeters. So these are my strips. I've already cut them out. That's the base strip. So from here to here, 3 centimeters or 3.1. And these are my 2 vertical strips, 2 centimeters across. From there to there, and from there to there. All you have to do is cut them to length so that they fit in this section, that length to the end. In my case it's about 83.5 centimeters long. The other thing I've done is I've left the paper on these strips. Since my foam wing has all the paper removed, I wanted an internal spar with a little bit more stiffness, so I didn't want it to be too floppy. So I left the paper on for additional strength, and additional stiffness all round. So that's the base foam piece. That's going to sit on top like that. That's going to sit on top like that. And that will be the spar. So now I'm going to show you how I glue it all together. So now I'm ready to glue the internal spar pieces together to form the overall wing spar. So what I've done is aligned the strip like so. I've used a bit of tape in sections so that I get the exact alignment, the exact fold before I apply the glue. Then all I do is wind or fold that back like that. And now I'm going to get the hot glue. I'm going to put a strip across like that, and I'm going to glue the first strip into position. Here we go. Glue in position. I simply roll that back up like so, and the tape is holding the alignment in place. All I have to do is hold for a few seconds, 30 seconds, as the glue dries, and the first piece is ready and in place. So that should be ready to go and dry. What I'll do now is apply a bead of glue inside here for extra strength. Get a scrap piece of foam if you like, and wipe off the excess. That's the first one. Now what I'll do is take the tape off. And there you have it. It's my first strip. Now we'll do the same with the second. Turn it over. Get some tape. Repeat the process, exactly the same as we did for the first strip. Start with the middle section, move along in sections and make sure it's properly aligned at the edge, and place the tape to hold it in position. Just put enough tape in the areas where you think the foam needs the extra support. Could be a slight bend or bow, just depends. Just apply the tape where it's necessary. Okay, so that's ready. All I do is fold it down, get my glue gun and stick on the next piece. simply lift it in place, lift it up, hold it for a few seconds, and it should pretty much be dry before you know it. And there you have the other one. That's the internal spar. I'll drop a bead of glue inside. Extra strength, like I did with the first one. Okay, there she is. Take off the tape. Bingo. There we have our spar. And this is where she's going to sit, and then we fold the wing over. So that's the next stage. Okay, so I've decided now, before we glue the spar in place here, we're actually going to cut these tapered angles on both sides of the wing. Give it that character and that shape we've been looking for. So from the end, we're really only cutting an angle from here up to here, which is where the first score is. Now that's about 4 centimeters on both sides. So 4 centimeters here. It's probably about 3.5 on that side. It's not going to really matter too much. You can make it exactly even. I'm going by the way I made the original wing. So yeah, 4 centimeters here, 4 centimeters there. We're going to make the cut here, here, and we're going to give this wing the character and shape that it's renowned for. Okay, so I've cut the taper, the angles on both sides of the wingtips. That's what she looks like. That's what it's going to look like. And I've done it to both sides. Okay, so now it comes time for positioning the internal wing spar inside the wing. So this is a bit of trial and error, but just to give you a guide, from here to here is about 10.3. If I measure from the inside line where the fold or the crease is, it's very different. So I think the best thing to do is a test fit, so that when you fold this over like that, this section here has to sit on top of this section here. So do a test fold like so. Have a look underneath, make sure it's sitting correctly here, in between here and here, which it is on both sides, and then mark it out like I've done here with a line, and it's pretty much ready for gluing after that. Alright, so I've made my lines, I've made my marks, I am ready to glue the spar. Here we go. Turn it over, put it down, put it where the lines, where the marker lines are, and press. On the straight edge, apply even pressure throughout, and I've just glued the internal wing spar in position, and she's ready to go for the fold over. quick test fit. Looks good on that side. And looks good on that side. It's ready. That's what the wing's going to look like when we fold it over. So just to quickly recap over the measurements using the design that I have on paper. I think I measured from the wrong side before when I was telling you to do a test fit. So this section here is this section here. Okay, so that measurement there on my plans is about 9.5. On my actual wing it's about 10.3, believe it or not. So the test fit is important because you've got to make sure this part here sits comfortably here on both sides. So do a test fit. The measurements on the diagram are more or less correct, but use them as a guide. Always do a test fit and you should be okay. Okay, so before we go on any further, at this point of the build, depending on what you're going to use the wing for, depending on your plane design and how you're going to fly it, if you wanted to, you could put a carbon spar inside there like that and glue it. That would give you the extra strength and rigidity to ensure that the wing would not fold. So you could glue one of these in place there before you close the wing and then fold it over and glue the wing together like that, and you've got one big strong solid wing structure. So you don't have to do it. I didn't do it with my first one, but just letting you know, if you wanted to improve the strength of the wing to prevent it from folding depending on how you were going to fly it and what you were designing it for, you could drop in a carbon spar and glue it into position like so. Okay, so now we're at the stage where we're going to fold the wing over like that. Now before we do that, we have to cut one more strip. It's going to be this strip here for the trailing edge. So I've done that already. That's 1.25 centimeters wide from here to here, and that's going to sit here like so. So that when the wing folds over, it'll meet here and will sit very nicely. Now when the flight test crew make these wings, they've got the paper on the foam sheet, so they would place a score cut here and they would simply fold this over like so and glue it. Now I had to cut my own separate strip. I've kept the paper on it for strength and rigidity as normal, and what I'm going to do now is sticky tape it to the side here so that when I fold it over it sits exactly aligned the way I did with the internal wing spar. So as you can see, I have taped the trailing edge piece that I've cut out onto the back here, and I have aligned it, and all I have to do now is fold that back like so and put a bead of glue here and then fold it right back, and she's ready to go. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, she's ready. Get my straight edge ready, roll it over, put it in position. That's it. Set. Perfect. Get my straight edge and even pressure everywhere. and the trailing edge piece is in place. Nice. That's ready for when I pull the wing down and glue her in position. Okay. So, what I will do now is remove the tape. Okay, so I've taken the tape off. It's in position. I've given it another small bead of glue here and wiped it clean, and the trailing edge piece is in place already. So when I fold down this wing, it'll meet the back here. Everything will be just right. Okay, so now we are ready to glue this wing sheet over itself. I'm going to put a bead of glue here in all the score cuts, including the leading edge. And I'm going to put one final bead of glue on top of the internal spar here. And then we're going to fold her over, put some weight on top, and we have done the wing up to this point. Okay, let's begin. Okay, so I've glued the wing. I've put a bit of glue in each of the score cuts. I have folded the wing over. I've made sure the internal wing spar is properly aligned with the top section of the airfoil. And then I have placed the appropriate weights in the appropriate position to make sure it's evenly distributed. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the glue to dry, and then I'll take the weight off and I'll show you the completed wing up to this point. And there it is. I have finished taking off all the weight. The wing is holding, the glue is dry, everything has worked as planned. Now the only thing we need to do after, as the last step, is glue the trailing edge here, which is easily done. But for now, we're just making sure the wing has taken hold and is glued correctly the way we have planned. Now as you can see, that's the completed wing essentially. This is my original wing. That's the new wing in front. That's my wing there. How's that for a mirror finish? That's two wings. I've just created the second one, the one that's sitting on top. Now we still need to cut out a section here, which we will do later on. That's the wing. It has worked out nicely according to plan, and it it looks really, really good, even if I do say so myself. Have a look at that. Now I'll just finish putting a bead of glue here because I didn't go to the ends. I'll do that to both sides, like that, and that should be it. Then of course, we cut out the ailerons here, one here, one here, and we put in our servos here. And there she is, folks. The wing is 85 to 90% complete. Okay, so I've shown you the completed wing. This is the original, this is the one we've just built. The only thing left to do is cut out this section here. That's where the propeller is going to be on the fuselage. So I'm going to cut the same opening here, and I'm not going to go in as far this time, but it's up to you. And I've come in a little bit more as well. So this was originally 24 centimeters from here to here. I've decided to make this 22 centimeters from here to there. Doesn't matter, that's just what I'm going to do this time. And then of course we have the aileron cutouts, which will be here. One on that side and one on the other side. So I've marked out 22 centimeters here, so it's 11 from both sides. I've made the line, I've marked the line on both sides, and I'm going to cut that out now. That's the first one. Now the second. Okay, I've made the two incisions here and here. Just have to cut across there now. So I will move the main wing out the way so that I can turn this around. Okay, keep my ruler there as a straight edge. Put my ruler there. If you can do it freehand, go for it. I always like to use a guide. Here we have it. So with this one I decided to just cut up to the edge where the foam meets the trailing edge. As you can see from there, I can still probably trim that a little bit more just to make it nice and smooth and even. But that's it. That's pretty much ready. I'm not going to go in this far like I did with the other one. I'm going to stop right there. And that's the wing, all finished and completed. Now I don't think I need to show you how to place the ailerons in here, or the aileron servos rather. So for the aileron servos, just make a cutout behind the internal spar, slot them in, hot glue them in position, and make your push rods. Cut out your ailerons here, cut out your ailerons here. With the push rod itself, all I did was got the wire and I bent it into this shape so that if I don't have the exact length when I'm aligning it all together, I just have to squeeze that in a little bit or pull it apart a little bit. And I can make the ailerons neutral with the rest of the wing, while the arm on the aileron servo is at 90 degrees. So that's the wing. I finally completed it. That's the end. This is what she looks like. This is the original. This is the one we have just put together. These will be the ailerons. But that's pretty much it. That's the wing. Sits on the fuselage here. The elastic bands go around here and here. The prop will spin here. And yeah. And remember, the key to all this is to make sure you have a diagram first. So a diagram like this will save you. So you know exactly what you're doing, exactly what the measurements are, and you should more or less come out with what you have on paper, which is this wing. So for all of those who want to know how I put this plane together in terms of the body or the fuselage, this is the plane that I made for that particular wing. Even though the wing can fit on many planes in my designs, I made it specifically for this one, but it is a versatile wing. It'll fit on other bodies. So I'll put the dimensions up on the screen shortly so you can see what it is. It's pretty much a box shape with a carbon rod going through the middle there, and the hatch, of course, which yeah, I made quite by accident, and you can switch it around and get a different look. That's what she looks like from the top. It's a bird's eye view, so I'll put the dimension overlay on top of that so you can get an idea of how wide the fuselage has to be. Look, you can do this any way you like. You don't have to stick to my dimensions. You can make it wider, you can make it skinnier, you can make it more slim. It's just something I put together. I had to allow for the battery and access with my hands, all those types of things. And yeah, I'm sure you'll come up with your own little configuration and it will look equally as good.